let's make a Tactile Texture Owl. Tactile texture is texture you can touch. Here's how I like to remember it. Tactile texture is texture you can touch. So you will need some air dry clay. I'm using Sculpt It, and some tools. I also have a plastic mat underneath my workspace. This part's a little difficult, but we need to open up our sculpted, our clay. So we're going to go ahead and try your best to do this on your own, or you can use a scissors as well. So whatever makes it easiest for your hands. We can throw away that piece of paper. We don't need that anymore. And with our clay, we're going to round off the corners. That means we're going to smush those corners just a little bit. Now you can do one of two things. You can either roll this into a ball, or you can take it in your hands and roll it between your hands. The object is to make this as circular as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, however, so don't worry about that. Go ahead and place it on your plastic mat, and then we're going to take our hands and smoosh it down. I'm using both of my hands, and I have also found out if I stand up, it makes it a little bit easier. I can use my fingers to smush it a little bit more like a pancake. I want to make it so it's about the size of a kindergarten hand. My hand's a little bit bigger than a kindergarten artist, so I'm going to make mine a little bit smaller than my hand, but the circle part of your hand, that's about how big we want it. Teachers will do a teacher check just to make sure it's about the right size, and then we are ready to move on to some texture. I'm going to use one or both of these wooden tools for my texture. I'm using a popsicle stick right now, and I'm pressing it down into my clay. Now I'm kind of just going down the center. I'm making sure not to make a hole in my clay, so I'm pressing hard enough that it makes a dent, but not a hole. Now it's time to add the wings onto our owl. We'll take the sides and fold them in. Gently press down so that it bends and folds. Do this to both sides of your owl. See how that looks like wings? So cute! Now we'll take one of our tools again. I'm taking that same popsicle stick, but I'm using it in a different way. So I'm pressing it up and down this time instead of using the side. You can use your tools in many different ways. Do whatever you do to one side, you're going to go ahead and do to the other side. So I'm adding those lines on both sides. And I'm going to change my tool here. Notice it has a nice pokey end and one that's just kind of circular, a little bit bigger. I'm going to use either end, make some more tactile texture. Now we're going to make two holes all the way through the clay. So I'm taking my tool and I'm placing a hole here and one right here. It kind of looks like where the eyes would be. You want these holes to go all the way through your clay. This is where we're going to put our string for our necklace. Take a look at the back. It's nice and smooth, no tactile texture, and two holes. The front has all the texture. My kindergartners and I experimented with lots of different ways to add color. We found that spray paint was the best. In my class, students were able to choose the color of spray paint they wanted, but you could also just do all the owls the same color. Now I have some plastic lace, and it looks like this. It usually comes like this. And what I did was pre-cut the lace and then place the two ends down the front of the owl. So I pulled that all the way through so that it met the clay nice and tight, like that. Then I used a hot glue and I glued on the eyes, and I used a little foam to cut out a beak shape, and I also put that on with glue. So here I'm just kind of showing. Notice that googly eyes are two different sizes. I thought that really gave some of the owls a little charm. Now that the glue is completely dry, it's time to add the beads. So I'm taking both strings to begin with and one bead. This bead is kind of like a straw. I'm lacing both of the strings through it at the same time. This is going to allow my beads to start a little bit higher than right on top of the owl. Now I'm going to separate the lace, and I'm only going to put it on one. Now I'm thinking about a pattern. So guess what kind of pattern I'm making so far? Are you getting it? If you guessed ABB pattern, you're absolutely correct. White, orange, orange, white, orange, orange. Now if I was to accidentally let that lace go, all of these beads would fall right off. So I'm going to do a little trick. I'm going to take the lace and the last bead. I'm going to put the lace up the hole again from the bottom. What this is going to do is wrap that plastic lace around that last bead. And watch. Now if I put this upside down, there's no way that it's falling off. It's not going to move. So on the other side, I'm going to repeat that exact same pattern. ABB, ABB, or white, orange, orange, white, orange, orange. Okay, now I have both of the sides the same. I'm going to do that trick again. Take my last bead, go up the bottom with my lace, hold on to it tight, up through the bottom, just like that. Pull, 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 pull until it's nice and tight. Now notice this time the bead ended up kind of far away. If I want to tighten that, I'm going to take the loop that's around my bead and just tug on that a little bit and then tighten up the top, just like that. All right, I'm going to continue. About every 6 beads, I'm going to do that little loopy action so that I don't lose all the beads that I create. Every single time that I add another 6 beads, I can change my pattern. Okay, there you see I have another 6 beads on. I'm going to now do the loop under. Go underneath that last bead and pull, pull, pull all the way through until it makes it nice and tight. Now that I have my beads completed, I have 4 different patterns on there. I'm going to end my necklace. You can add more than that, but I chose to end right here. Now this trick was taught to me by a kindergartner. She put both laces right through one bead. Then she looped from the bottom with one lace. So just went up from the bottom like we've been doing and practicing with the rest of our necklace. She pulled that through. That made that side nice and tight. Then she took the other one and looped it around the bottom of the same bead. What a smarty pants! This worked out perfectly. It holds the laces together and it only uses the materials that we're already using. Once it's like this, it will not come apart. It's nice and tight. There we have it, a finished owl necklace. We learned about tactile texture and patterns with our beads.